But we have to be very, 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 very clear. This team I repeat, cannot function with Caitlin Clark on the floor and Stephanie White as the head coach. Caitlin Clark was benched. And Fever just got blown out by one of the worst teams in the league. And she got, by the way, she spent more time on the bikes than she did on the floor. And by the way, if Caitlin Clark is only healthy to play, she got subbed off twice in less than 90 seconds. And then got subbed back on. You don't sub somebody on and off in 90 seconds for injury reasons. For people like Caitlin was bad before she got benched. She was +6. Then she comes on, plays 90 seconds. They hit a couple of threes. And then she comes back on and she's by herself, cold, with the Dantas Van Slooten lineup. So yeah, there's logic to the plus minus. She's cold. Sophie's injured. She was on the floor with a Dantas, Raven Johnson, who was terrible today, an injured Sophie, and Van Slooten. There's logic to the plus, not logic to the plus minus. There's justifications for the plus minus. But there is no way in hell for people being thank you for the $5, hand Olivia Miles the MVP. I mean, you're probably not wrong. It's one of those things with Caitlin where it's whatever. She got subbed after 3 minutes to start the game. Okay, whatever. 3-minute spells are annoying. That was her longest spell on the floor. That was her longest spell on the floor today, was the 3 minutes she started the game. And she was +6. Caitlin Clark was -22. They were -22 with Caitlin Clark on the floor in her remaining 12 minutes. Or remaining 11 and a half minutes. That's bad. And the worst part is that, it's not the what. You can basically say, oh, this is why the Fever were bad, Caitlin Clark bad, and the offense, The offense, when Caitlin Clark is going off, the Indiana Fever play free. They don't really run anything. When the Fever try to do what Stephanie White wants them to do, which, by the way, is every single part of the offense when Caitlin Clark's not on the floor. No matter what happens, every single part of it is we are getting the ball back to Kelsey Mitchell. Their whole goal is we're getting it back to Kelsey. If you have the ball, your job is to pass the ball to Kelsey. And then Caitlin Clark, by the way, when she comes back on the floor, Kelsey became a decoy. Kelsey just became a decoy. And Caitlin just started going ISO ball. Caitlin shot the ball 12 times in 14 minutes. In 14 and a half minutes today. It is the most Caitlin I've ever seen Caitlin shoot the ball. Caitlin's turnovers are her just trying to force anything because no one's moving and everyone's just kind of standing there. And this current roster, this current game plan, you need one of Caitlin Clark or Kelsey Mitchell. It doesn't work with both of them. It doesn't work with both. You either choose Ty Harris and Kelsey Mitchell as your starting backcourt, or Raven Johnson and Caitlin Clark. There's enough of a sample size to know. I don't care how many points. I don't care if you show me Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell's ESPN pages and say, look, they're both averaging career highs. This clearly works. No, it doesn't. They are going your turn, my turn. Both of their impacts on the game is exclusively how many points they score and what percentage they shoot. Caitlin Clark does not impact the game more than makes or misses. She has a lot of assists because she has the ball in her hands a lot. She does not impact the totality of the game anymore. She does not control the pace of the game. She does not control the tempo of the game anymore, which is what she did. You cannot have two players on your team For people saying at least Kelsey Mitchell can score, before today, there was a half a point difference in their points per game. A half a point difference. Let's be very clear. They're scoring at the same rate. Caitlin just came back from injury today. Like, you cannot run a system with two gunners as your main threats. And the problem is that they're both, I'm not saying they're both undersized, but like Caitlin's slim and not particularly strong. So they both play like undersized guards. Caitlin needs a bit of length to be an off-the-ball player, but like you need like a 6'3" WNBA point guard in between them. Like, if you want to play Caitlin Clark like you're currently playing Caitlin Clark, you need a fucking Alyssa Thomas or something. Alyssa Thomas out there to be like the guard bigs and, you know, be the point guard and spread it. But it's like, you've now turned Caitlin Clark into a volume shooter and trying to constantly shoot her way into rhythm because she doesn't play long enough spurts to get rhythm naturally. And you might be saying, oh, she was on a minutes restriction. If there is no way in hell. Caitlin got subbed off twice within 90 seconds. She got subbed off twice within 90 seconds. If she's not capable of playing 90 seconds, she's not capable of playing. We need to be honest here. If she is not capable of playing more than 90 seconds, she is not capable of playing, especially because as soon as she gets subbed off, she goes straight to the bike. She goes straight to the bike. Like, this was clearly a tactical thing. Stephanie White, yes, Caitlin's on a minutes restriction. But if Stephanie White really wanted to, Caitlin Clark plays 24, 25 minutes. She plays 24, 25. You give her a few minutes more than the minutes restriction if you really wanted to. She gave her 15 minutes. She started her. She's like, this is how bad it got. 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Caitlin Clark is standing at the scorer's table ready to sub in. You know, she got kind of sick of subbing off Caitlin Clark after 2 and 3 minute spurts. Then she subbed off Caitlin before she even got on the floor. She sent Caitlin to get subbed on and then goes, nah, go sit in the bench. And then subs Caitlin on to start the fourth quarter. 30 seconds into the fourth quarter, she subs off Raven Johnson for Ty Harris. What does that mean? We all know Kelsey Mitchell's coming on the next 90 seconds. It means Kelsey Mitchell's coming in for Caitlin Clark. It means Kelsey's coming in for Caitlin. She subbed on Caitlin to start the fourth quarter, and 30 seconds into the fourth quarter, made a decision she was subbing off Caitlin within the next 90 seconds. This was, as much as Caitlin was on a minutes restriction, this was a tactical thing. And I'm not saying that, you know, Caitlin Clark being on the floor more would have won the Indiana Fever the game. I don't know if she shoots her way into rhythm. I really don't. She did hit a 3 in the fourth quarter. I don't know if she shoots her way into rhythm. She probably doesn't. She wasn't playing well. It was probably too late for her to get her rhythm. But what was the point of playing her? What was the point of playing her? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, what was the point of playing Caitlin Clark today? If you were going to play her 15 minutes. And I'm going to be real. Stephanie White realized, not even early in the game, because Caitlin Clark's first 3 minute spell was really good. Caitlin Clark started really well. And if you guys didn't notice anything, it is not uncommon. Like, have you not noticed how bad Caitlin Clark plays in games where she's subbed off after 3 minutes? Just want to say that. This is not the first time Caitlin's been subbed after 3 minutes and then struggled the rest of the game because she's never been allowed to get a rhythm. It's not the first time that has happened with Caitlin Clark. It's not. It's not the first time that's happened. And there is no way that when it comes to Caitlin Clark, that this was the minutes restriction she was expecting. She looked demoralized. Like, if Caitlin comes into the game knowing the minutes restriction, knowing she's playing 3 minutes, she's not coming off looking. And by the way, like, first 2 times she was on the floor, she wasn't that bad. She was really good to start the game, and it wasn't that bad in her second spell. She had like 2 points and a turnover. Like, it was whatever. But she comes off after the second time of being subbed off after 90 seconds and looks demoralized. If she was injured, she's not going back in for 3 more spells of 2.5 minutes or less. She's not going in for 3 more spells of 2.5 of tiny minutes if she's injured and constantly going to the bike, getting ready to play. Every single time she got subbed off, she looked more demoralized. Like, there is no way that she keeps coming on for 90 seconds if she's injured. Because from everything we've seen, if Caitlin Clark does not feel 1,000%, she's not going onto the floor. If she doesn't think she's able to play, she's sitting out and the Fever are going to sit her out. Realistically, if that ends up happening, that's what they're going to do. Stephanie White did not want Caitlin Clark on the floor today. Let's be honest. Stephanie White almost certainly would rather have Ty Harris than Caitlin Clark. And you know what? Like, I don't necessarily care. As a coach, you are allowed to make whatever decisions you want. And anyone who has ever coached basketball, if you've ever coached at any level, if you have ever, like, we can say this as fans, we can point out how ridiculous it is as fans, but if you have ever coached basketball at any level, and anyone who's ever coached will tell you this. We'll tell you this. That as a coach, you prefer the not as talented players that do exactly what you say versus the supremely talented players that do whatever they want. It is not a surprise. It is not a surprise that Stephanie White probably prefers Ty Harris to Caitlin Clark. Because all control freak coaches do. And again, that's not saying Stephanie White is a bad coach. She is a control freak coach. It is her way or the highway. She has a system. You run her system. And in her defense, teams hit a baseline level of success. You're never going to win a title in her system, but you're never going to be bad in her system. That is the way. She is the Sean Dyche of basketball coaches. It is her way or the highway. And that's fine. That is fine. Caitlin played defense, turned the ball over. Caitlin, what did Caitlin do wrong in defense today? What did Caitlin do wrong in defense today? Like we got to be honest. Stephanie White clearly prefers how the team plays when Caitlin Clark is off the floor. You can tell by the way she talks about this team. You can tell by the way she talks at the end of games. You can tell by her post-game press conferences in games where Caitlin Clark doesn't play. She prefers how this team plays without Caitlin Clark. Like, she can deny it all she wants. We can all make observations. It is almost certain that she prefers how this team plays without Caitlin Clark. And that's fine. That is fine. She is a basketball coach. Basketball coaches are allowed have whatever opinions they want. We can say they're dumb. I can make the argument that it's a dumb take to have. We're all allowed to do that. We're all allowed to have opinions. We're all allowed to criticize opinions. But at this stage, it's unfair to everybody involved to try keep Caitlin Clark on this team. Like, it's unfair to everybody involved. It's unfair to Caitlin. And I'm not saying it's unfair to Caitlin the human, because I don't know. Caitlin could love these people as humans. It's unfair to Caitlin the basketball player. And at the end of the day, I don't know Caitlin Clark. I'm not going to speak for Caitlin Clark the human being. I'm only going to talk about the basketball because that's all I know about. It is unfair to Caitlin. It is unfair to Stephanie White. It is unfair to the Indiana Fever organization. It is unfair to Kelsey Mitchell. It's unfair to Ty Harris, who's doing exactly what she's being asked to do. And in the current system, you can make an argument the team functions better with her. And when Caitlin's playing big minutes, she's going to play no minutes. Why take the job? Everybody was promised something different. Let's be very clear. Let's be very, very clear. DeWanna Bonner was promised it was her team. Natasha Howard was promised it was her team. Stephanie White was probably promised you can do whatever you want with Caitlin. Everybody was given false promises. Everyone was for this Indiana Fever team. Steph thought she could mold Caitlin into something she isn't. Steph thought she could mold Caitlin, and I'm going to be real. It is, depending on who the coach is, it's either a flaw or one of the best things about Caitlin is that no matter what you put up against her, she can always play her game. The problem is she's not adaptable. Like, it is what it is. She's not adaptable. She can't adapt into a system, but she is a system that's nearly impossible to stop. Because there's no way to stop it. Because to stop it, you leave something else vulnerable. Like, you can't stop Caitlin Clark. You can't stop the Caitlin Clark system. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's a pity. It's a pity because like all they needed was a coach to see what happened in 2024 and try to build on from that. But instead they tore it all down. Tried to rebuild a new team that was never going to win. The team that no longer fits Caitlin Clark. And I'm going to be very clear. If the way Stephanie White wants to play, there's no point in having Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's a luxury that there's no point in having. Like, you already have your system. You already have your go-to scorer. You don't need playmakers because you play iso ball. Like, you don't need a playmaker. In Stephanie White's system, you don't need a playmaker. Which is crazy because you're going to go iso ball and post up. You don't need a playmaker. You don't need Caitlin. Caitlin Clark is a luxury that can be, like, in this current system, Caitlin Clark is a luxury player that when she's going off can make you unstoppable, but when she's having a bad game is a net negative to your system. Because she has to play so well that her going out of the system is not a net negative on your team. And if Caitlin's even playing average, she's a negative to this team, currently as constructed. This is not a knock on Caitlin. This is not a knock on Stephanie White. This is a basketball statement because this has happened in so many teams. There's been so many elite players that just have not fit. Trading Caitlin for this Indiana Fever team is addition by subtraction. It just is. Unless, of course, you want to get rid of Stephanie White, you want to get rid of everything, and you want to tear it all down again and restart. But suddenly then you go back to 2024. Where you have to restart from the ground up. And the Fever aren't going to be good next year no matter what. No matter what the Fever do, they're not going to be good next year if they decide to tear it all down and rebuild with Caitlin Clark. The Fever need to ask themselves a question. Do they want to be in semi-contention for the next 5 years? Or do they want to tear it down and take 2 to 3 more years to rebuild, possibly going into the lottery again? To maybe eventually build a team that Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston can carry. They have to make that choice. And you're going to say, oh, they can't go into the lottery. I'm sorry, like Sue Bird went into the lottery. Taurasi went into the lottery. That's how she got Brittany Griner and how she won her 3rd title. Taurasi in her peak got the number 1 pick. The Lynx, before their dynasty, ended up with the number 1 overall pick. Like, a lot of these quote-unquote top teams have had number 1 picks. These top great players have had number 1 picks. The Fever probably have to dip into the lottery to fix what they've done, unless they trade Caitlin Clark. Because the Fever can thread water and be a 6 seed for the next 5 years, no matter what they do. They can be a 6 seed. If the Fever let Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham walk and replace them with minimum contract players to keep Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and keep Stephanie White as a coach, you can thread water as a 6 seed. You can. You can thread water as a 6 seed. You're not gonna sell that many tickets, but you can thread water as a 6 seed. Or you can trade Caitlin Clark, get whatever assets it is, get more first round picks, and get a whole haul of first round picks, be set up in a pretty good way that maybe you can compete this year. And then in 2 to 3 years' time, you're not fucked. You've got your assets, you've got your high first round picks, you've got your young players to build around Kelsey and Aaliyah Boston, and maybe you get into the 3rd, 4th seed with Stephanie White, which you can do. You're not going to win a title, but you're going to be semi-competitive. Like, if they don't trade Caitlin Clark, I think they're perpetual first-round exits because Caitlin Clark does not raise the ceiling of this team, nor does she raise the floor of this team. She is a luxury. She is the... I don't even know how to describe this. Like, she's like if you got a whole... she's a luxury. She is a luxury because when she's not playing well, it takes away from Kelsey Mitchell her touches and her shots. And also, she doesn't play defense, or she's not a good defender. Like, even if you want to say average, she's average. But like, you can't have two average to below averages. Like, she's like, she's basically like, she was once the engine to the team, but Kelsey Mitchell's the engine to the way this team plays right now. Caitlin Clark is like putting one of those like loud, you know, those idiots that put the like really loud exhaust pipes on a car. That's like what Caitlin Clark is to this team. Like, I got to be very clear. Like, this team is better with Caitlin Clark, but like 1% better with Caitlin Clark. And it's only better with Caitlin Clark because I think Caitlin Clark's second best player in the world. I think Caitlin Clark is so good that the fact that she is literally, when she is on the floor, everything else that Stephanie White wants the team to do goes to shit. I think she's so good as an individual that everything else going to shit is worth it because of how good Caitlin Clark is over the course of a season. But Caitlin Clark is not worth her trade value to the Fever. She is not worth 4 young assets, whether it be 3 firsts and a player or 2 players and 2 firsts. She's not. She's not worth not being able to get off a Lexi Hull contract. She is not worth her contract to the Indiana Fever on the court. As long as Stephanie White is the coach, she is just there. She's just there. We got to be very clear. She's just there.